Imagine saving the country 300 million bucks. What a hero you would be, or should be at least. Imagine blowing the whistle on a massive tax scam at the big end of town, the biggest in 2 decades, biggest ever perhaps, but then losing your own home in the fight as a whistleblower, in the legal fight against the people who pulled off this very scam. Just a quick house ad here. We're almost at 100,000 on YouTube. If you could hit the bell and subscribe, that'd be fantastic. Get us to 100,000 so we can fund and do more of these sort of stories. And also, more importantly, the crowd fund for Tony Watson. Check out GoFundMe Tony Watson. Google it. We'll put the link at the end of this video. But back to the story. Imagine this all happening. Losing your home after blowing the whistle, even if the ATO, the Australian Tax Office, has said, yep, you're right. When you took it to them, yep, it's a scam. And they come down with a ruling in your favour. Imagine that. The same tax office, that is, who would not have got that 300 million if you had not courageously come forward and blown the whistle in the first place. Now, we're talking about the Lendlease whistleblower Tony Watson here. All the executives from Lendlease, meanwhile, are still on their $1 million salaries. So too their cuff-linked partners from PwC, KPMG and Freehills and Greenwood, the law firm where Watson used to work. And here is Tony Watson, the guy who did the right thing, getting skewered by the system. The CEO at the time, Steve McCann, he creamed a tidy $60 million as CEO for his stint during the time when all this happened. Then he went off to Crown, the casino mob, and then he went to Star Casino where he is now. How can the government ever expect anybody to step forward in the future and expose corruption? And you see what happened to Richard Boyle, the tax office whistleblower, David McBride, the Afghan war crimes whistleblower. We've seen what happened to Troy Stoltz with his legal travails, exposing corruption in clubs pokies land. This is a hard road to hoe. They say the wheels of justice grind slowly, but for the whistleblower Tony Watson, they grind agonisingly slowly in reverse. We've been waiting too. It was almost 7 years when we first exposed this tax fraud here, the double dipping scam. Watson had gone to the top executives and said to them that their double dipping scheme was not legal. He was the tax lawyer for Lendlease. They ignored him, so he went to the board. The board ignored him too. Finally, having gone through what he thought were all the proper processes as a whistleblower to be protected under the whistleblower legislation, which is incredibly faulty, as we know, hasn't had one successful outcome in favour of the whistleblowers, despite the government's protestations that it would fix them, these laws. Finally, Watson goes to the ATO and goes, here, look at this scam. His courage in speaking out, not going with the flow, cost him his job. It made his role as tax advisor to Lendlease untenable, not being one of the boys. And years later, without a job, the ATO came good with its ruling. Years later, Watson cites the case of the US justice in the Sam Bankman-Fried situation with the Californian crypto fraudster, Sam Bankman-Fried, in terms of the pace of justice, who kicked off his ill-fated billion-dollar empire, FTX, this crypto scam, in April 2019, and soon shot to fame as America's 41st richest person. The crypto poster boy was arrested in the Bahamas in December 2022, extradited to the US and indicted on 7 criminal charges. And just a year ago, last March, he was convicted on all charges, sentenced to 25 years in jail and ordered to forfeit US $11 billion. The wheels of justice had spun quickly for Sam Bankman-Fried. Not so, however, for our legend, Tony Watson at Lendlease. Just 1 month before Bankman-Fried commenced his grift, his FTX scam, Lendlease filed its 2018 tax return with the Australian Taxation Office, and the ATO was put on notice by Tony Watson of fake deductions in March 2019. So that's 6 years ago. Basically what had happened is the once revered blue chip had understated the gain on the sale of its stake in its retirement living business. As a PwC advised deal, it had double dipped on tax deductions. Indeed, it might have taken them 4 years, but the ATO issued a draft ruling proving what Watson had said on double dipping in 2022. said, yep, you got it right. Watson was out of a job by then, fighting Lendlease, his former client. A draft ruling now 3 years ago, and it's still going for Watson. He had to mortgage his house to pay his legal fees. Lendlease, meanwhile, and its cufflinked advisors have been bunkered down in nicey nice chats, little fireside chats with the ATO. Not like us ordinary taxpayers. We can't just say, oh, we dispute that. Can we talk? Would you pop up to our offices, our Erie, on the 42nd floor of whatever office tower overlooking the city skyline? We'll just talk about it because we're in denial. We don't agree with your ruling. You can imagine battalions of tax lawyers and accountants and so on, all arguing the toss. We can't argue the toss as normal people. If any one of us pulls a Swiftie on the ATO, there's no cups of tea, there's no arguing, no boardrooms, no skyline. It's just pay up or pay lawyers. Not so for the big end of town, not so for Lendlease, because they can pay lawyers, because it's not their money. It's the superannuation gravy train. It's shareholders' funds. It's OPM, other people's money. And there are corporate reputations to protect with this OPM. And so they spend the money chatting with the ATO and duking it out with Tony Watson in the courts, running him out of money. And that's where we're at now. Lendlease finally fessed up to its chicanery in a minuscule note to its financial statements, a contingent liability interred in the bowels at the back of the accounts last year, 6 years after we first went public, and they denied for year after year that they'd done anything wrong. Yes, it was finally revealed that the ATO was auditing Lendlease, investigating them. Now, you can read the details on the website, but suffice to say that Watson, having done the right thing, is in legal limbo. His lawyers are now saying they can't afford to lock horns with Lendlease in the court. Too much risk, too much money. And he's being pursued, meanwhile, by another set of silk-tied grifters from the big end, good old Mallesons, whose playbook is, Tony Watson, you made all these claims up. You have to prove every aspect in court. You should have no evidence because you had to give it all back when we sacked you. And if you do have any evidence, it's privileged, it's confidential, without prejudice, and private. So you can't use it, and you cannot refer to it either. And anything left over will be suppressed and not published. So stop legal abuse. Please help Tony on the GoFundMe if you can afford it. And thank you for your support. Please like, share, and comment in the section below.